So the pitchforks are out and people are foaming at the mouth at the new TLP Oakwynd server. And I guess the question at this point is, can it be saved? Will it be saved? And why are people so mad about this? So if you haven't heard, basically they're coming out with a new encounter locked system where if you engage a mob, it's locked to either you or your group. And the reason people aren't liking this isn't necessarily because they're trying something new. It's because they're forcing on a new system that changes the core game mechanics of the game and advertising this as, hey, this is new content for our TLP server. No, this is new content that should be on a test server or on its own TLP server. This should not be the main TLP server. I actually think at this point, they're probably, you have like a sunk cost fallacy with this, right? They're actually, most likely they're in too far into this with game development time and the amount of money that they spent on this, that they're not going to not test it at this point. And I think that's fine. But it needs to be tested on a separate server, and they need to treat the player base like the player base and provide them something fun to do. This is kind of reminds me of when Diablo Immortal came out and it was announced at BlizzCon. People were really hoping for either Diablo 4 or Diablo 2 Resurrected, but instead they came out with a mobile game. If they had instead said, hey, here's Diablo 4 and here's a trailer for it, Diablo 4 is coming out, and then they said, we also on the side, we're going to have this mobile game too, that would have been a lot more well received. And I think they should do the same thing here with these TLP servers before it's too late. If it's not too late already, who knows if it really is, if they plan on doing anything else. And the way they came out with this and presented it to everybody, it really makes them look like they're disconnected from the player base and they don't care what anybody wants at all. They're just out in their own world, doing their own thing, and whatever the player base wants, they just basically ignored all the feedback for an entire year of what people want. And I don't think necessarily it's okay to always give the player base everything that they want, but you need to throw them some bones, and you need to generally, if you don't have a really fun idea and you make everybody wait, like, oh yeah, just wait to the new server, we're going to do something new and exciting this year, and then you come out with this where you're trying to change the core mechanics of the game, people are going to be upset, and I think they have an absolute right to be upset. So at this point, I do think they're going to have to do something about it. Whether or not they will is something we have yet to see. Me personally, I think they should just scratch this whole encounter locking idea. I think it's a bad idea. The Everquest gameplay is not designed for a feature like this. They said sometime soon that they're going to come out with some more information regarding this, so I'm actually looking forward to hear what they have to say. My guess is probably next week we might expect to hear something, but again, that's just a guess. So if they make this encounter lock server its own thing, what's a fun server that they can do instead? Well, there's tons of suggestions on the forums. The obvious ones are increased experience rate, increased loot, increased faction. They can lower the lockouts on Agents of Change. I think overall the server needs to be a lot easier than just like your standard boring TLP with no experience increase. Even if they don't increase the experience, maybe they can say, okay, we're going to do the baseline experience rate, but potions on this server are half off. So they can get their money. People will be more likely to buy potions if they're cheaper, and kind of maybe it's a win-win for everybody. Something like that might be interesting. Also, they could do free trade. It's kind of funny with free trade because they initially said they didn't want to do any more free trade servers. And then they came out with Mischief, which is like the most popular TLP to date. So are they willing to do another one? We're going to have to wait and see. It seems like they're kind of against it at this point because they're just either ignoring comments or they're coming out with like these rule sets out of nowhere that no one expects to see. So anyways, I would like to see them maybe consider free trade as well. Also, I think a really big thing they need to do is fix the unlock schedule for the expansions. They're way too slow. So for instance, I think a new server, Kunark should instantly be out. This will automatically spread out everybody within the game, so there's going to be a lot less people contesting for experience camps and different names if there's people within 2 different experiences. Because honestly, I feel like Classic is too small of a game for a TLP server. It might have been good when the game came out, but there's just not enough experience zones that are like fun and you got to cram everybody in just a few different high level zones once people start reaching that level 50 cap. I think if you release Kunark as well, it's going to give people a lot more options right off the bat, and I think it would be a lot more fun. Also with epic spawns, those are highly contested still. I do think that they should still increase the rates or the amount of epics that people can get, at least for a little while, until like it starts to taper off, and then maybe they can make it how it is right now. So for instance, if a respawn on like Verona Tomb or whatever for the Enchanter epic, they decreased her by a lot, decreased her by even more, at least for a little while, so everybody can get these bottleneck pieces and there's not too much toxicity. That is a better solution to me than trying to change the core mechanics of the game with like this event lock or whatever they call it. And getting back to the expansion release schedule, after they release Kunark right off the bat, they should release every expansion, all the expansions in terms of what level you are. So after Kunark, release all the level 60 content up to Luckland, and then after a little while of doing Luckland stuff, release everything immediately up to Gates of Discord, all the level 65 content. Imagine being able to do elementals, Plane of Time, Gates of Discord content, and Eldon content all at the same time. It's all fresh, and you can do all of it or any of it in any order you want. I think that would be really fun, and they don't need to drag that era out for like 4 or 5 months, or what is it? It's like 4 months, I think, between Planes of Power, Gates of Discord, and Eldon. It's like way too long. They can just shorten that down, and then do the same thing too. Like once they release level 70 stuff, just release everything up to Prophecy Row and let people do the same thing. There's be a lot more content people can work on, and it'll spread people out more as well. I personally would like to see a lock server at an expansion that has like a lot of fun, repeatable content. They have a lot of achievements in the game, so they got like the newbie quests. They have like kill achievements, and on live in the later expansions, these achievements will often give rewards. They'll give either like maybe an illusion. Most commonly, they give bags, and they'll give some other various stuff. I don't remember exactly everything, but in the first part of the game, these achievements, you don't get anything for them. And there was actually a patch last year where they added a whole bunch of achievements for the newbie quests, but nobody does them because there's no incentive to do them. So let's say there's an achievement to do all of the Kaladin newbie quests. We'll provide an award for that achievement, so someone can say, okay, I did like 6 or 7 newbie quests, I'm getting a good reward out of it, whether that's gear, whether that's like a potion with experience bonus or a faction, but give some type of reward that's equivalent to the amount of time that players spend on these quests, because basically all the newbie quests in the game are completely obsolete. They nerfed them all because they don't want people repeating them over and over for the same experience. Well, those quests are part in an achievement now, and you can only do the achievement one time. So give the player a reward for the achievement rather than for the quest. But those are just different things they can do. I'm not suggesting that they do all of these, or they can just pick some of them and do something else, but they need to make something fun for everybody. And lastly, the True Box situation, I think only allowing people to have one box all the way until Omens of War is too long. They need to allow a 2-box scenario earlier than the 3-box scenario in Omens of War. So right now you can only do one, and it's not fair to your customers to have, if somebody wants the box, that they have to have 6 computers to run their own group. Like, that's way too much to ask of your customer base, and it's not fun for everybody. Nobody really wants that many computers sitting around in their house. And the game is essentially built around boxing, especially nowadays, because a lot of the times people can't play unless they're in a raiding guild and they have scheduled raids. You can't always play at the same time someone else wants to do. And if you're not boxing, there's a lot of times you can't do anything at all until someone else logs on, or several people log on all at the same time. So it's just a different era than what it used to be. So I would like to see allow 2 boxes for a computer somewhere prior to Omens of War. Maybe do it in like Shadows of Luckland or something like that, or maybe even Scars of Julius, somewhere earlier. Maybe not necessarily in Classic, but I don't know. It needs to, whatever it needs to be. It should just be earlier than Omens of War, probably closer to the beginning of the game rather than closer to the Omens of War side of the things. So that's pretty much all I have. I hope this was interesting, and look forward to seeing what Daybreak has to say about this. And if they can save this, that would be cool. But honestly, I don't have my hopes up, but we'll see. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.